As therapists, our own capacity to be mindful may be critical to our efforts to be of help to our patients. First, and perhaps most crucially, a mindful stance fosters the experience of being firmly lodged in the present moment. The British psychoanalyst Wilfred Bion captures this state of open presence as well as any Buddhist philosopher when he extols the advantages of approaching the patient without memory, desire, or understanding. Thus rooted in the here and now, rather than the remembered past, the wished-for future, or the abstractions of theory, we are less vulnerable to our own tendencies to be either dismissing or preoccupied. A mindful stance allows us to be more fully present, open, and capable of responding, like the good enough attuned parent, to the requirements of the moment as these emerge in our interaction with the patient. Second, a mindful and present-centered stance fosters an experience of being inside and aware of the body. The resulting attunement to our own somatic responses amplifies the signals that allow us to tune in to the nonverbal expressions of the patient's internal state. Thus, mindfulness can potentially enhance accurate empathy as well as our ability to connect with the patient's unarticulated and perhaps dissociated experience. Third, mindfulness, like a secure state of mind with respect to attachment, fosters an attitude of acceptance, a non-defensive openness and receptivity to experience as it is that can help us make room for the full spectrum of the patient's feelings, thoughts, and desires. In this way, mindfulness in the therapist may facilitate a relationship with the patient that fosters the process of integration. Such integration may be not only a primary goal of psychotherapy, but also, as previously suggested, a consequence both of secure attachment and of the practice of mindful awareness. As part of what makes the therapeutic relationship a transformative one, the therapist's mindful stance may have a contagious quality, kindling the patient's own experience of mindfulness very much as expressions of the therapist's reflective stance help to kindle the patient's ability to mentalize. With some patients, in addition, it may be helpful for the therapist to encourage the formal practice of meditation. I trust I have made it clear that, viewed through the lens of attachment theory and research, the healing power of psychotherapy derives primarily from the therapeutic interaction. The new relationship of attachment that the patient forms with the therapist can potentially function as a developmental crucible. In the chapters to follow, I delve more deeply into the three key themes: the relationship, the nonverbal dimension, and the stance of the self toward experience that orient my work with every patient. The chapters in Part 1 summarize the story of attachment theory and research, establishing in the process the book's conceptual foundation. Part 2 describes the impact of attachment relationships on the developing self. Part 3 makes the first bridges from the attachment theory to the practice of psychotherapy. Part 4 explains the clinical implications that follow from identifying the patient's prevailing patterns of attachment. Part 5 details further the nature of therapeutic work in the nonverbal realm, as well as the ways in which we can attempt to both cultivate in ourselves and elicit in our patients a more reflective and mindful stance toward experience.